Today is Thursday, January 19th, 2023, and I'm going to talk about some things from Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and then read chapter 6. So I think the biggest takeaway from chapter 5 is the message of, and this is a message that gets talked about a lot, be a better listener than you are a speaker. And in general, yeah, it's better to just not speak than it is to speak in most instances. And there's a few different reasons for that. And another takeaway from this, it's better to just listen than to speak. It's better to not act than to do something in a phony way. It's better to just not do something than to have a phony experience of it. And so the way that this comes up that it reminds me of is a lot of people when they're making a prayer or they're speaking, and you can tell that they're just saying words just to say words, just to fill up the time, or just to make the prayer longer. And it's not always heartfelt. It needs to be heartfelt and it needs to be authentic. And a lot of what people do in life is out of expectation or habit and not necessarily because it's an authentic thing. Another thing about the whole don't speak, it's better to just listen than speak, is because, and this goes into what I've been talking about a little bit, words have weight and everything that we say here matters, and we're going to have to account for every little thing that we ever said. Every idle word that we speak, we're going to have to be held accounted for. So in general, it's better to just not say anything. And going into the speaking is magic, you don't want to breathe something into existence. That's, when somebody, the whole idea of don't speak evil, because you don't want to breathe that into existence. These concepts they're real. This is how magic works. You can speak something into existence, I believe. And I think that, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff has basis in reality. When people say things, it's better to not say anything at all than to say something bad. And also the wisdom of it's better to not vow. This is also in chapter 5. It's better to not vow something at all than to make the vow and then break it. That's another topic that I've been talking about recently. How if, let's say you're in a quest to better yourself, you're shooting yourself in the foot when you talk about stuff instead of just do actions that better yourself. The more meta you get, the more you say, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Every time you say I'm gonna, you're setting up a hurdle for yourself instead of just doing actions. Talking can be a curse. Talking about something can absolutely be a curse. Whereas if you had just kept your mouth shut, you wouldn't be in that situation. And then some other things, just moving on, a lot from Ecclesiastes chapter 5 just felt very Proverbs-y. And it's kind of in that part of the Bible. This is right after Psalms and Proverbs. So when it mentions, I really liked the part of Ecclesiastes 5 that mentioned how it doesn't matter if a laborer has a small meal or is well fed, they sleep well. Somebody who works hard sleeps well, whether or not they ate a feast that night or ate a little that night. They sleep well. Whereas a king who could have everything that they ever wanted to eat may be an insomniac. And yeah, it reminds me, there's actually a story about one of the things that Bach allegedly wrote. I don't know if you can trust anything about history like that. But anyways, one of the stories that they tell about the Goldberg variations is that the whole reason that Bach wrote those variations were for some rich person who had trouble sleeping. So it was like this long piano piece that they could listen to while they were staying up at night all restless. And that's what this reminds me of, that you can be a king on earth and have all the food and all the wealth to have everything that you ever wanted, and you could still stay up at night, not able to go to sleep. Chapter 5 Ecclesiastes also seems to be where you're born naked and you're gonna die naked comes from. So whenever I'm just reading the Bible and I read something, I'm like, oh, that's that expression, except said in some fancy King James Version speech. So that's it for chapter 5, and let's just get going on chapter 6. I guess I'll just make one more point. So chapter 6 is a little bit less easily understood than the chapters before this, which I think are just general life advice, general conclusion things. This one seems a little bit more specific and maybe hard to understand. So maybe in my next video, I'll just be trying to make sense of this chapter a little bit. But also I want to talk really quickly about the whole aspect of be a better listener than you are a speaker. A point that I've been wanting to make up, it has to do with the types of videos that I'm making right now and 501c3 type churches. The reason why I think it's good to just read a chapter from the Bible. Here we have access to God's word. We have access to great wisdom that is probably going to be better than what most of us can just come up with on the spot. So I think that there is a lot of pressure for us to make something amazing. Why do pastors feel this pressure to make something original all the time? Why can't we just walk in on Sunday and today we're going to read 3 chapters from Matthew? It's very rare that that happens. Usually it's like 5 verses. A pastor can spend an entire Sunday talking about like 5 verses. And so why are you adding so much? You don't need to add to God's word. Sometimes just go to the source. You don't have to make up something amazing yourself. Sometimes it's better to not talk. You don't need to talk. Sometimes all you need to do is read God's word and listen. You don't need to make up something amazing on your own. Anyways, that's just some thoughts that I've been getting with this and why I don't mind. I totally don't mind making a video where the bulk of the video is just reading a chapter from the Bible, because it's a good thing and it's already, the Bible's better than anything I can come up with. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. If a man beget 100 children, and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. For he cometh in with vanity, and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. Yea, though he lived 1,000 years twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. For what hath the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Seeing there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? For who knoweth what is good for man in this life, all the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow? For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless everyone.